Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I am sharing with you another Halloween makeup look. This time it was for my little sister. She was going to a Halloween party and she wanted to have a Victorian half skull faded look. Her inspiration were the pictures that you can buy for Halloween that show Victorian people looking beautiful, and then you change angle and it's a hologram and there's a horrible zombie skeleton type thing. And as you can see, half of it is a faded skull face and the other side is a pretty glamorous look. I began with her hair and she wanted an updo. So to start off, I parted and made a circle at the back of her head with a comb and put that in a ponytail. And it formed a base and a structure for the rest of the hair. My little sister Grace has very fine hair, so I ended up having to do a lot of back combing and then taking the hair nearest the hairline and making that smooth and putting it over the top. I then pinned all of it in place so that there was a little bouffant, and I pinned it at the start of the circle of hair that was in the ponytail. And that's the front done. I had it how I was looking, so I started around the back of the hair. Starting with the hair in the ponytail, I used my Babyliss Pro curlers to do little curls and then just pin them in place like pin curls. I curled all the hair in the ponytail, and I also had to make sure that none of the pins were visible. Once all the hair was curled in the ponytail, I then began working on the bottom of the hair, bringing this up and pinning it to underneath all of the curls. Once the hair was pinned up securely, I then began curling the leftover bits of hair and pinning it again in place. I then repeated this step throughout the whole back of the hair, making sure that I kept pins as least visible as possible and also kept a few little bits loose just to make it look quite pretty and a bit more lived in. As you can see, the curls look great all piled on top of each other and create a really pretty bun. Once I was finished with the hair and I thought it all looked perfect and in place, I added a lot of hairspray. Onto makeup, and for the base I used a NYX concealer and also a NYX matte foundation. I used a really light shade, it's the shade that Grace usually wears. Once the foundation was done, I started on the glam side of the face and I began by contouring using an Essence contour palette, and I just contoured under the cheekbones, round her forehead and also down the side of her jawline. I used a Catrice eyeshadow for quite an intense highlight, and I also used a Catrice multi blusher just to add a little bit of warmth to the skin. For her lips, I wanted quite a natural look but also something that would last throughout the whole party, so I chose to use the NYX Lip Lingerie in shade Push Up, and I made the lips quite a pouty shape. As a base on the eyes, I used a neutral shade from the Catrice Nudes palette, and then for the cat eye I used a piece of cardboard and my Naked 3 palette, and I just built up the darker shades. I then added dark brown eyeshadow underneath the eyes. Using the Kat Von D tattoo liner, I made a really large, exaggerated cat flick. I used the Kat Von D tattoo liner just because it's very long lasting, so it'd be great for at the party. And then on the inner corner I went back in with the Catrice eyeshadow. I then added a little mascara. This is so difficult to do on someone else. And then onto brows, I wanted to give her a very defined brow, so I used the new Benefit products. I used the Benefit Goof Proof pencil in shade 03 to block out her eyebrows. I then ran some shadow through. I used the Shape and Shadows Essence palette. I used the Benefit Gimme Brow in shade 03 just to make sure that the hairs all stayed in place and the eyebrows had a lot of texture to them. And then just because she's going to a party and I know it's going to be very hot and she'll want her makeup to stay in place, I finished with some translucent powder. And this is the glam side of the face done. Obviously make this suit you. Onto the gory side of the face, and I started by adding a lot more foundation. I wanted it to be a very solid base, and I also needed to take out any of the coloration in the lips. With my black Snazaroo face paint, I started by marking out this semicircle on the side of her head, and I made sure that I filled in the hairline so that none of the skin was showing and it looked a bit more believable. Started by making these shapes on her face, making sure that it looked right for her face shape, and just making them really simple to begin with so that I knew exactly which bits I wanted to colour in. As you can see, I started with the jawline and then worked my way over to where the teeth would be. Once I was happy with the shape of the jawline, I then began filling in the teeth, knowing where they'd fit in. I then had to make sure that my brush didn't have too much face paint on, and I could then begin some of the shading. Once I was happy with the top teeth, I began filling in the bottom teeth. I then began a lot of shading and exaggerating the lines in between the teeth, dragging them both up and down in between the teeth. Once I was happy with the jawline, I then went back in and did a lot more shading around the edges, making it a lot more grey, and then I went in and did the eye. I thought for this look I would create more of a pretty shape than a true skeleton shape, and once I was happy with the eye, I again began filling in shading. Adding shading made it look a million times better, and then I began working on the neck. I made some really simple shapes down the side of the neck and then began filling it in. I didn't want the whole of her neck to be black. I think that's too much face paint if you're going to a party, so I was just fading it out. I then went in with the Essence Spring white eyeliner. It was just such a simple way of adding in white to her face, and I knew it would be long lasting, and I added this to some of the teeth and to define some more of the features. Having the contrast of the white and black gave it a lot more definition. At this point, Grace pointed out that I'd forgotten to draw in the nose, so I did that, and I did just a simple half teardrop shape and made sure that it faded out nicely. I then went in and did some more shading. I then went in with my brush to make sure that it got rid of any of the brush marks around the shading, and then I darkened up some of the neck so that it looked a bit more gory and graphic. I matched in a lot more with the face. Grace then got into a costume, and I just touched up with a little bit of highlight, again using the Catrice eyeshadow, and just used that on both sides of the face and her forehead so that it all just mirrored together nicely. And this is the finished look. It lasted really well throughout Grace's party, so if you are going to a Halloween party or going out for drinks on Halloween, this might be a really great look if you are wanting something that will last. But if you have enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. But thank you for watching, and I will speak to you later. Bye!